Hello and welcome to our election special To The Point. Today we have with us a man who dons a number of hats, from being a technocrat to a co-founder of the world famous Infosys, also the brain behind the famous Aadhaar paradigm, as well as probably or perhaps the richest candidate in these Lok Sabha elections, the Congress candidate from Bangalore South constituency, Mr. Nilekani, Nandan Nilekani. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Let me begin by asking the obvious question which comes to the mind, and it struck me also the first time I heard that Nandan Nilekani will be contesting elections this time. After all you have done in life in several fields, be it being an entrepreneur or being on the government side as well, using your expertise for several programs, also your services for the Bangalore city. Why the plunge to electoral politics?
Well, I've always been interested in public service, which is why I was the chairman of the Bangalore General Task Force. We did a lot of work on civic improvements, urban governance, water, toilets, roads, and so forth. And then, of course, as chairman of Aadhaar, we issued 600 million or 60 crore Aadhaars. But I realized that if I want to continue to be bringing change in India, which is what I'm passionate about, politics is the biggest lever of change. And therefore, you have to be elected so that you have the political legitimacy to be able to get the change done. Hence, I'm standing for election.
So it's the question of having political legitimacy which brought you into the electoral fray, but the party which you represent in these elections seems to be suffering from a severe anti-incumbency wave. Many say that this is because of the 10 years they've spent in the power, leading the UPA alliance at the center. Doesn't that sort of bother you sometimes?
Not at all. I think the UPA government in the 2 terms has done a lot for the country. There's been significant development on all fronts, on agriculture, on education, on mobile phones, on India is becoming polio free. So really there have been very significant achievements, and the manifesto has also come out, which is a very positive and very strategic manifesto which combines growth with entitlements and safety nets. So I think I'm very confident that the Congress party will do well. I'm very proud and happy to be a member of the Congress party. My ideology and the Congress ideology is the same. My father was a Nehruvian, so I always had a liberal secular view of India. And it was the UPA which gave me the chance to do the Aadhaar project. So anyway you look at it, the Congress party is my natural home.
What about the issues which seems to be rubbing the Congress party the wrong way, such as the issue of corruption, the issue of rising prices?
Well, inflation is coming down in the last 3-4 months, and there have been many programs like the Food Security Act that protect the poor against inflation by giving food at a much cheaper price. And corruption is there in all governments. I think if there anybody specific case of corruption, they must take action. But I think we have a larger issue of how to make our politics much more representative and transformational. And that's why I've chosen to stand for elections.
The reason why I specifically pointed out these 2 issues is because the constituency which you wish to represent and which you're fighting for, that's Bangalore South, is a mix of, I would say it's in sort of an urban constituency, but it's a mix of both the lower class as well as the urban middle class and slightly upper class as well. So these are the 2 issues which seems to be touching chord with the people at every place in every constituency. What has been your experience?
My experience is that Bangalore South has a very serious anti-incumbency problem with the local MP. The local MP has had 5 terms, has no track record, no performance, and people want a change. They want a good, clean, honest, hard-working local person to come in. So I'm very confident that the voters of Bangalore South will vote me in, and I look forward to their support.
You rightly pointed out that your opponent is a 5-time MP, is a General Secretary of the main opposition party for almost a decade now. He's been a minister in the union government. But your detractors point out the same thing, that Mr. Nilekani is pitted against a man who is much more experienced than him as far as politics goes.
No, experience in politics is not keeping promises, experience is in playing dirty tricks. I don't want that kind of experience. My experience is being a problem solver, job creator, somebody who works hard on the ground to bring change. People of Bengaluru South have understood this. They are tired of this non-performance. They will definitely vote in a fresh new person.
One thing which I've noticed in your campaign since last few days is that you focus more on the local issues. after having spent so much time at the national level, being an architect of important programs like the Aadhaar paradigm, why come back to the local issues? This is general elections. This is
Yeah, but no,
electing
but
member
you're
of parliament.
electing an MP to represent a constituency. So it is about local issues. It's about an MP who will be an ambassador for the city. It's about an MP who will work hard for the city's improvement. It's for an MP who will create opportunity for the citizens of Bengaluru. So it's very much about these issues, and that's the issues I'm taking up in this election.
But again, the critics argue that it's not the responsibility of the member of parliament to go ahead and ensure that the municipal services are being taken care
No,
of.
it's very much the responsibility of the member of parliament to interact with the city governance, the state ministries, the central ministries, act as a catalyst, act as someone who brings all this together. This requires hard work, not politicking in Delhi.
Okay. One very important question is, since you're the first time contestant, this is your first election, how supportive is the state or the district party unit is? Are you on the same page as the...
Oh, absolutely. The Congress party has been very, very supportive, has welcomed me with open arms. I'm getting tremendous support from the state Pradesh Congress Committee and the state president, Mr. Parmeshwar. The chief minister began his Lok Sabha rally in my constituency on Monday. All the MPs and defeated MPs of this constituency are working very hard with me. I'm very, very happy with the support from the Congress party.
Before we go into the break, one more thing which I want to ask you as far as this election is concerned and this specific constituency is concerned. Would it not have been possible for Nandan Nilekani to go ahead and choose any constituency, given the fact that you were considered very close to the Congress leadership? Then why choose Bangalore South only?
Well, Bangalore South is my home. I was born in Bengaluru in Manivilas Hospital. I grew up on Magadi Road. In the last 15 years, I've lived in Jainagar, BTM, and now in Koramangala, which are all part of the constituencies. This is my home. This is the city I love, the city I care for. I want to be their MP.
Oh, that's wonderful. We'll take a short break out here, but when we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Mr. Nilekani and ask him questions about his brainchild and the much talked about scheme of unique identification number, that's Aadhaar. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Mr. Nandan Nilekani, the Congress candidate from Bangalore South Kent constituency, is still with us. Sir, now coming back to a scheme which is now a household name, and your name is attached to that household name. That's the unique identification number. That's the UIDAI, which was chaired by you. The Aadhaar paradigm, which was, if I'm not wrong, which was termed as a game changer by the finance minister himself. But what happened? It seems...
So it is a game changer.
The scheme got lost somewhere.
It's not got lost. There are more than 60 crore people now who have an Aadhaar number. So half the Indian population has an Aadhaar number. Aadhaar is being used, and the government has done thousands of crores of cash transfers into millions of bank accounts using the Aadhaar number. Aadhaar online authentication is being used to disburse money in villages for Narega payments and pensions. So it's very much happening, and it's a transformational project. It's pro-development, pro-inclusion, anti-corruption, and it's very much going to fulfill its promise.
But the critics argue that this particular scheme seems to have been a waste of taxpayers' money.
Not
huge
at all.
amount of money was spent on it, but the kind of grand designs which were sought for Aadhaar did not materialize at the end of
Not at all. First of all, the money spent on this project till December 31st is only 3,813 crores. So people are giving some wild, inaccurate figures just to create political mischief, but it's not really the money spent is only 3,813 crores. Secondly, every time we have brought something new into India, there has been resistance. When computers were brought into India, there was a lot of resistance. They said man-eating machines and all kinds of things. And today everybody uses computers. When mobile phones came, there was resistance. So generally, when new technology comes in, there is resistance. But I'm absolutely confident that Aadhaar will be a transformational thing in the history of India.
But then, wouldn't you accept the fact that within the government itself, in the initial stage and then later on at a later stage as well, within the government itself, there were divergent views about going ahead with this particular scheme and the usage of this particular scheme, because there was another authority which was collecting data at the same time, and then there was some sort of mismatch, or I would say miscommunication between ministries per se.
Well, whenever I start something, there will be multiple points of view. It is a democracy. Many government departments will have many views. But the fact of the matter is the government fully put its weight behind Aadhaar, has given the Aadhaar UIDAI team, which of course I resigned from a couple of weeks back, the target after having reached 60 crores. Now they've been asked to enroll in Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Uttarakhand and Chhattisgarh, which is another 33 crores, which means that the Aadhaar scheme is ready to reach a 100 crore target by the end of 2015. So I think the government is putting its full weight behind it, and I'm very positive that this will be transformational for India.
But what about a recent rap by the apex court when it said
No,
that...
there was no rap. The court made 2 points. One is we went to the Supreme Court with a special leave petition.
That's the UIDAI,
Yeah.
the authority.
UIDAI went to the Supreme Court with a special leave petition to say that the data should not be shared with any other agency except through resident consent. The Supreme Court upheld that request. So in fact, it was a victory for UIDAI. And the second thing is the Supreme Court reiterated something they had said earlier, which was that it should not be mandatory for government services.
But it is mandatory for civil services.
No, so there's a separate case going on in the court, and I'm very confident that things will work out. So I don't see that as anything negative in that.
Oh, so you're hopeful that as far as this particular scheme is concerned, it will live up to its promise of being the game changer.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, wait. Let me bring you to one very important aspect which you had raised, and when you raised that issue, you also raised many eyebrows. That was the issue of providing reservation in private sector. Now, that issue seems to have been taken note of by the central leadership of the party, and it is now very much a part of the Congress party's manifesto. How did it all go about? Did you have to convince somebody?
No, I think I've seen the manifesto, and let me say what I've said also. Basically, what I've said is that, yes, reservations are there in education and the public sector. As far as the private sector is concerned, I think we should get the private sector to be proactive in creating opportunities for people from disadvantaged backgrounds. And I've also said that the real solution to all this is dramatically expanding supply, dramatically supplying supply of education, dramatically increasing supply of jobs. That's how, once you create enough abundance of opportunity for jobs and education, then automatically these issues will get sorted out.
So you're hopeful that it will be easy to bring reservation in private sector?
No, I didn't say that. I said that private sector should be proactive, and there should be a consensus about how we can bring in people from disadvantaged backgrounds, which is more or less what the manifesto also says.
But do you believe that this is the right time to go ahead and enter into this debate, given the fact that there are certain point of views in your own party itself as far as the other reservation is concerned, saying that it should be more or less based on the economic condition rather than the caste-based reservation?
I think the thing is like this, that all that I'm saying is that we need to create an environment where people from disadvantaged backgrounds, either economic or social, get opportunity, and the private companies can be proactive in doing that, which many companies in the CII I know are doing that. And the long-term solution is expanding the number of jobs in India, expanding the number of seats in colleges in India, so that everybody has an opportunity.
So you believe that if the field is left open for an open debate and discussion, there might be some more views which might come in.
Absolutely.
And this particular overarching topic can become useful in the later stage to create employment opportunities.
Yes, we have to all talk together and come with a consensus. In the meantime, expanding capacity, expanding opportunity is the heart of what we have to do.
Okay, great. We'll take a small break again out here. When we come back, we'll ask you about another important aspect of the UPA government to which you've been associated in some way or the other. That's the right-based approach of the UPA government so far has been. We've seen that the manifesto, the Congress manifesto, again talks about several rights which have to be given to the people if they emerge victorious. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Mr. Nilekani is still with us. Sir, let me move on to another very important aspect. That's the right-based approach of the UPA government. If I look at the past 10 years, the UPA government has come up with several legislations, started with right to information and right to food. Even the Land Acquisition Act was renamed as right to justice, if I'm not wrong, and so on and so forth. There are one or two more such legislations. There is a talk of more rights being given to the general public if Congress comes back to power. Their manifesto says that they will give right to health and even right to pension. How useful do you believe this right-based approach of this government has been?
Well, I think it's a very important and very strategic framework that the UPA has done. And as you can see in the manifesto, they have found a very good balance between growth and a welfare state. They've talked about the need for growth, for growing at 8%, for passing GST and DTC, for simplifying business rules, for making it job creation. They've given a target on job creation. So that's all about economic growth and, and job creation. At the same time, we must recognize there are a large number of Indians who need basic safety net, need social benefits, need entitlements, and that's where the rights-based approach comes in. So I think the manifesto clearly shows the balance between growth and a welfare state, and I'm very happy and pleased with the manifesto.
You've been on the other side of the boundary as well. You've been an entrepreneur. Would you agree with the critics' argument that this welfare, the idea of being in welfare state, providing rights to its citizens, is coming at a greater cost of economic development?
Not at all. Not at all. If you want the economy to grow, we have to increase the number of jobs. We have to make it simple for business to function. We have to reduce the cost of doing business. We have to make the tax system simple and transparent. We have to build infrastructure. So that is very much part of the Congress manifesto. And to address the challenge of millions of people who are disadvantaged and are suffering, we need to create a welfare state and a social safety net. So the Congress manifesto is looking at both these issues.
Okay, one last political question before I come to the ultimate last question of this interview is, what do you think of, or what do you have to say about the opposition party's prime ministerial candidate? Because many in your party seems to take him, that is Narendra Modi, head on. Others in your party doesn't seem to believe in taking him head on, rather maybe make remarks or criticize him on the issue of development. Is the model of development, the Gujarat model of development which Narendra Modi, the BJP's prime ministerial candidate, seems to be propagating, is that something which cuts some ice with you, or?
No, I don't think so. I think we need a leader who is inclusive. We need a leader who is collaborative. We need a leader who is a consensus builder. We need a leader who is compassionate towards all sections of society, and I don't think he fits that bill.
Okay. The last question, which just like the first question I said, must be an obvious one, and I have read it in articles about you. The story from a story of Nandan Nilekani, from a man with 200 rupees to 7,700 crore rupees. In a short. In a short, if you could tell us, how did...
Well, I was very lucky. I met a group of fine young people at that time. Yeah, they were young at that time, under the leadership of Mr. Narayan Murthy, and we co-founded Infosys, which became one of the great success stories of the Indian corporate world. And since I was a founder, I had the shares of a founder, which became very valuable. Even today, 80% of my net worth is in Infosys shares. But this wealth has given me the freedom to join the government with no salary, to get into politics with no compromises. So I think I see money as something that gives me the freedom to do what I need to do in my life.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Wishing you best of luck for all the future endeavors. So this was Nandan Nilekani, the Congress candidate from Bengaluru South constituency. We'll come back again next week with a different personality who might be contesting from somewhere else in these 2014 general elections. Till then, keep watching Rajya Sabha Television.